Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Black Book Podcast. A good friend of mine who I met in Beijing years ago, feels like now, my friend Hillary. And let's just get right into it. So, Hillary, can you just start by just giving like a brief introduction of yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me, Eric. I appreciate it. So I'm Hillary and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And I am currently in the US due to COVID, but I was in Beijing for 4 years teaching English to adults. So that's how you and I met. We both worked for the same company. So I was teaching ESL in Beijing, and I did that for 2 years before I changed jobs and I became an academic manager for a education travel company. Traveled a ton, came back to EF to teach again, and I did that for a couple months, almost a year. So I guess total 3 years I was teaching in Beijing. Yeah, and then now I'm here.
Okay, cool. So, um, first thing I want to know is like, what brings a girl from Atlanta, Georgia to China?
Good question.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, actually, it really started before high school. When I was a kid, I really grew up around a lot of Chinese people because my dad used to work for a Chinese-owned company. So we would celebrate like Spring Festival with them, and they would give us moon cakes, and we would go to Chinese restaurants with them, and I always found the Chinese culture to be very inviting and just very interesting, just because I was around it so much. And I remember everyone talking to me in Chinese and not understanding them when I was really young, and just thinking like, you know what, one day I'm gonna understand them, and I'm gonna talk to them in Chinese. I'm gonna learn Chinese. And then of course I was like 6, 7, whatever. And when I was in high school, I decided to take Chinese and I loved it. So I decided to major in Chinese language and literature at university. So after I graduated, um, I had studied abroad in Beijing for a semester. And after I graduated, I decided to move to China because I said, well, I've been studying Chinese for so long, like I might as well move to China and see what happens when I move there. Um, so yeah, that's what brought me to China. I just wanted to use my language skills, improve my language skills, and then kind of just see what life would be like living abroad, um, and living in China specifically. So it's always kind of been like a desire of mine to move to China. So to finally do it was like really a dream come true, you could say. So it was just something that I always wanted. So I did it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure about this. I want to ask you: Does Atlanta have like how like Chicago, LA, New York? They have Chinatown. Does
Mhm.
Atlanta have one of those?
We do. It's very tiny. I wouldn't call it a Chinatown as much as it is like a China strip mall. It's
Okay.
very small. It's very
Okay.
small. But I've been there before, and they do have, like really authentic food, and like you can hear Cantonese and Mandarin everywhere, and so it's, yeah. There's a big
Yeah.
Chinese community there.
I asked that because because you said that you were sort of growing up around Chinese people because of the work your father did and stuff like that. So I'm going like, huh? Is there like a Chinese town in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Chinatown?
A little bit. After he quit, though, I mean, then that was I didn't know anyone Chinese after that.
Yeah.
So like when in like middle school and high school, like I didn't have any Chinese friends. I didn't know anyone Chinese. And then I was homeschooled. And when I told my parents I wanted to learn Chinese, they were just like, well, we don't know anyone who can teach you that. And we don't know Chinese. So like, I don't know what we're going to do. But I was very adamant about it. And they're like, all right.
Mhm.
So they found a Chinese tutor. So um, a woman who had she just taught Chinese, from her her house. She was from China, so I would go over there once a week, and that's how I got started. So
Okay, okay.
yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cuz I don't know. I don't think I know anyone from America who studied Chinese the way you did. Like most people who got into Chinese learning, including myself, either studied in high school or in college because I started in
Sure.
college. But I do know people who started in high school. So like fast forward to like your ESL teaching experience when we were
Mhm.
colleagues at the same company. Like was that something that you thought you were going to be doing like before you decided to come to China or when you were first making the decision to come to China?
No, not at all. So I actually was very adamant about not teaching English. I was like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to be one of those people that teach English abroad and then teach English forever. I'm not going to be that person. And then I realized that it's the best way to get into the country. So
Yeah,
it's the best way to get a visa, and I thought, you know what? All of these other jobs are very, you really have to be specialized in something, and like it was just a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So I
yeah,
thought, you know what, I'll go to China, I'll teach English because I did want to work in education. So I figured English would be the best way. And then maybe afterwards I can like find another job once I'm in the country and have more experience and more connections. So teaching English definitely wasn't my first choice, but once I, you know, got there and started teaching, it wasn't like it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I actually started to enjoy it.
okay,
And teaching
yeah,
adults was a big thing for me. I was very adamant about not teaching children just because I know my own limits. So yeah.
yeah. What would you say was the best part about teaching adults?
I think just making friendships. It was great to make friendships with people and see them every day, and um, that was really nice. I really enjoyed that because we're all adults, so if we want to hang out outside of work, like that's an option, for students that I grew close to. So I really liked developing friendships over time with different students. That was probably my favorite part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of did the same thing when I was teaching adult ESL and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
like I met a lawyer who I still keep in contact with to
Yeah.
today, a dentist, even though I've never been to her her practice, but she's let me know if I ever wanted to come, I could. But like
Yeah.
I've met so many people that like even if they're not useful to me, they've been useful to other people who I've ran into. So like I can easily pass that contact over and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure that like everyone, I don't want to say everyone, but most people who teach probably adults will probably have the same experience because it's different
Yeah,
with
for
teaching
sure.
kids because like kids you just like you can't really like be friends with them
Yeah.
unless you're some weirdo or something like that. But
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. So, yeah, I did enjoy that. Like you just meet a lot of really interesting people. And sometimes that's great. Sometimes it's the bad kind of interesting. But you know,
yeah,
you do meet a lot of people, and it's great when you can like really develop some like friendships from those. Like I'm still really good friends with a couple of my students. So, that's good.
okay, and
Yeah.
like because I know you personally. I know how good
Yeah.
your Mandarin level is and stuff like that. So like,
Thank you.
I just want to, I just want to ask you more about like because you did learn Mandarin before you came to China, but like
Yeah.
how good was your language ability when you first got here though? Like, were you able to right away communicate effectively?
Yeah, like it was pretty good. So I really, because I studied abroad in China before I moved to China,
Okay,
and it
that's
was
right.
a like a 1 semester intensive program where we weren't allowed to speak anything besides Mandarin, and it
Right.
was like a three-strike rule. So like even if they think you were speaking English, which was the case one time. So one of the students teachers, whatever, it got back around to like the headmaster that someone thought I was speaking English, even though they couldn't actually hear me. We got written up. It was very, very intense, and they were just like, "This is what are you really doing here? Think about why you're here. Do you want to ruin it by speaking English?" So I would say by the time I moved to China, my English was pretty good, but my first time in China, it was not. With all of my
Okay.
experience of studying in high school, and I had a couple of years of college experience under my belt, and oh man, it was a big shock because in a classroom everything is very controlled, and you have a practice time, a controlled
Right.
practice time, and a free practice time, and all of your peers are American, so it's easy. But when you land in the airport and there's Chinese all around you and there's Chinese signs, and it's very overwhelming, and then you realize I don't know anything. I don't know
Yeah.
half what I thought I knew. I was very confident going, I'm like, I'll be fine. I have all this experience. But when I got to China the first time, it was very jarring. But when I moved to China, I was a lot more confident in my Chinese. So it was definitely an easier time. I was able to, communicate and, bargain for my uh, price for rent and what I want in my apartment and all that kind of stuff. So like it wasn't as bad the second
Okay.
time around. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to back up because I did not know that about you, that you had an intensive course. So I want to ask you just more about that. Like, you mind telling me like which university it was in? Was it at a university?
It was a separate program. So it was at CET programs, and they do programs in
Ah,
China.
coach.
I think they do it in like Italy, some in
Okay.
Spain, Russia. So there's a few countries they operate in. And basically it's just an outside program. So you can join if you're a student, or if you're a graduate student, or you're just living in China and you want to study. So we were based in a very tiny, tiny, tiny university behind the zoo
Oh, okay.
in Sydney. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was such a small place that even the taxi drivers were like, "There's not a university over there." We're like, "Trust us, just take us there. There is a school." So it was one of those really small places, 4 buildings, a
Yeah.
cafeteria, and
You
that's
know,
it.
because
Yeah.
like I hear this and I'm going, because um, what a lot of people don't know is that well, a lot of people do know that I usually take like once or twice a week. I have Chinese class. What a lot of people
Mhm.
don't know is that you were the person who recommended that Chinese teacher to me. I've been having her class for the last 3 years and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And like my Chinese is like my level has gone like from really low to like really really high
she's a good
with her.
teacher.
She's a really
Yeah,
effective teacher and stuff like that. But
yeah.
like in my mind, I'm going, but I'm not on Hillary's level. What's going on here? So I was looking confused. I was like, oh, okay. She took an intensive course before
I
she
think
got
it
here.
in,
Okay, all
yeah,
right. All right.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
very intensive.
all right. So like, just like what type of, besides not being able to speak another language, like what other things were in a part of the program?
So we had extracurriculars, so you could either choose like traditional painting or like wushu. They had like practicals for us, which was really great. So we would learn like stuff about restaurants, and then we would go to a restaurant, or we would
Mm-hmm.
learn about how to talk about different holidays or something, and then we'd have to go to a park and interview people about their favorite Chinese holidays and then give a presentation on it and stuff like that. So it's great to have those extra things of like getting out into the city, but still in a semi-controlled environment because your teachers were nearby. Um, but so that was really good that we had like, they would give us like 100 RMB and a list, and they'd say go into this market and haggle and whoever brings back the most money wins a prize, stuff like that.
Oh
So it
shit,
was
that's really
really,
cool actually.
yeah, it was great that we were able to take what we learned in the classroom like 2 days before and then really apply it and go out and try it. And then we knew where our teachers were, so meet back here in X amount of time. And so it was great to have like these citywide excursions once a week. And then they also took us on one historical trip and then one local trip. So we got to go to the Great Wall. But the good thing about this one was it was one of the, like a ruin. It wasn't like the what is it called, the rebuilt ones,
Okay.
not like Yu or anything like that. It was,
Hmm.
we drove forever to this tiny village. I couldn't tell you what it was called. And we stayed at a local farmhouse, and the farmer cooked for us. And, we did a lot of hiking and stuff like that. So that was really cool. And then they also took us to Xi'an.
Okay.
We had a school trip to Xi'an. And that was also full of, a citywide scavenger hunt if you want to participate. If not, just hang out, don't get lost, don't die. So,
Right.
so it was good. Yeah, they kind of took us around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like uh just moving forward a little bit, like because you took this program, you came to China with a pretty good base, maybe more than a good base of Mandarin already.
Mm.
Besides like, doing the daily things, going to the grocery store, ordering food, um, what else could you do, or what else could you have gotten into because of your language ability?
Yeah, so I think it was really well when I became an academic manager and I left teaching.
Okay.
I was doing a lot of traveling. So I was traveling months and months and months out of the year, maybe like 4 to 6 months out of the year I was on the road. Um, and because of my language skill, it was really great that I was able to make a lot of new connections, and I was able to learn a lot more about China than maybe someone who didn't speak Chinese that well or was just
Right.
like okay at it. Um, so, I mean, one of the reasons why I was able to do that job was because of my language skills. Because, we're in charge of a lot of kids in the mountains. So you have to speak Chinese in case something goes wrong and you can,
Right.
you know, alert someone or something like that. But it was just really great to be able to really connect with people and to understand a lot of the different cultures within China, um, and the different language groups within China. And like, it was just really, really great to be able to connect with people like that in a way that I know that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have that language skill. Um, and another thing that I really got into was speaking Chinese pretty well. I'm able to get around. Day-to-day stuff doesn't intimidate me, but one thing that did really intimidate me was healthcare, because, health, like when you're speaking like medical Chinese versus regular Chinese,
Yeah.
that's very different. Even in English, like medical English is a whole nother language. And when you go to the doctor, there are certain things and certain words you use, and, grammar, vocabulary, and different kinds of stuff like that. So I was very intimidated by healthcare in China. And I was like, I can't imagine what it must be like to not speak Chinese and have to go through this. Cause like I can go to the
Mhm.
hospital and I can figure it out. It's not that big of a deal. I just prefer to speak in my native language because I know what I'm saying. Whereas in Chinese, I might have to struggle a little bit more.
Yeah, you might have to
Um,
guess about some stuff. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot of guessing going on. So I think that it kind of pushed me into starting the health group, Female Health Empowerment Network, because I just thought like there's got to be an organization out there that helps people find health resources in
Okay.
China. Like there just has to be. And I couldn't find it. And I was like, and on top of that, I figured like there's a lot of health things that women go through on a day-to-day basis that maybe it's kind of taboo to talk about in other circles, or
Right.
even amongst women, like we don't talk about it that much. But it's things that happen to everybody. And so it was really frustrating when I couldn't find the information. Like, what is the name of this medication that can be found on the shelf of any store in any country? Like, I know it's here. I just don't know what it's called. Like, what's the brand name? What's the name of the medicine? Like, what pharmacy can I go to? And I couldn't find those resources. So that's why I started Female Health Empowerment Network, because I was like, you know what? I do have the language skills, and for me, it's not as difficult to make connections between this medication and like this word. I can see, maybe I don't know 100% that that's true, but I can see the connection there, maybe a lot quicker
Right.
than someone might. So I was able to use my language skills to kind of create more resources for people. So that's been something that's been growing and changing, and I've been learning a lot of uh, different vocabulary words for different things.
Okay.
So that's been really cool. That's been really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a great segue because I have been seeing your WeChat posts all over WeChat in different groups and stuff like this about the what's it called, the Female Health Empowerment Network. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you basically said you started it because of the lack of information or lack of being able to find what you need and stuff like that. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, so you just said a whole bunch about it. But can you?
Sorry.
So it's all good. But instead, so besides like helping helping others find like the sort of maybe the medical service they need or the medicine
Hmm.
they need, is there anything else that you do with the network?
Yeah, so we have a couple of events. So we did our first event in September of 2020, and that was kind of like a weekend webinar of kind of an overall, these are some things that are available in China. So we did, you know, um, some mental health. We had a representative from a clinic come, and they have clinics all over China. So they came, and we had like some yoga sessions and stuff. So that was our first event. We have our second event is coming up on Thursday, and that's a mental health event. So this year for 2021, we have a lot of events lined up, almost one per month. So I'm really excited. And it just kind of goes from, anything from hormonal imbalance in women to how to deal with stress in everyday life. Um, Lots
Mhm.
of different events. We have one about sleep, one about sexual health. So there's just a lot of different events that we're doing this year. So that's another service that we provide, is just, workshops and information sessions and all
Is
that
this
kind of stuff.
solely? I know you're not in China right now, but is this like solely China based, or is this like something you do also in America?
This is just China based for now.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
how are you handling it? Because I know like you're in America, so I know most of what you're doing right now is virtual. So but, like,
yeah.
do you have any like issues with that, or is just like kind of smooth the way you handle it now?
It's pretty smooth now, because we have so many members that are nationwide. We're trying to keep
Yeah,
most things online because there's just too many people in too many different cities.
yeah.
Um, but as time goes on, we might start doing like meetups. We'll see how COVID goes, but we'll do like, maybe meetups in different cities, and maybe an in-person event here or there. But we're trying to keep most of it online just because there's so many people in different cities.
Okay, cool. And you mostly just focus like the foreigner base in China.
Yeah. So of course local women are welcome to come, and we actually have a lot of local women in our group. Um, but we don't provide any services in Chinese. It's all done in English, and then
Yeah.
we might have resources in other languages, including Chinese, but it's not our primary like target.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. And how long have you been doing this? I remember a while ago you asked me about something because I know you were looking for a resource, but I forget how long it was ago. So like, yeah, how
Hmm.
long have you been doing this?
It's been a little bit over a year. A little over a year now. Yeah.
Oh, that was a while ago. That was a
Yeah.
while ago.
Yeah, it
Okay.
started October of 2019. So a little bit over a year.
For sure. All right. And so, like, you know, so you have that, and I know you're in America. You have to come back. But do you plan on coming back to China or going somewhere else? Is that in the future plans?
It's in the future plans. It's in the future plans to go somewhere. So
Okay.
right now we're just kind of seeing how things shake out with COVID, just because, you know, America is crazy with COVID, and traveling right now is not ideal. Um, and I know like there's been a couple of cases that have popped up in China again. So there's a lot of restrictions on who can come into China now. So we're
Yeah.
definitely just kind of playing it by ear, day by day. We don't really have plans to stay long term in America. But we'll probably be here for a little while, at least until COVID settles down.
Okay. All right. So before we get out of here, I kind of want to just ask you some personal questions.
Yeah.
So not anything too personal, just like so, like if you could basically just the time that you were in China, I know you're gonna come back, but the time that you were in China, if you could like describe your experience or the time you lived in China just in like one word, how could like what word would you choose?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
One word. I think it would probably be unexpected.
And why would you say that?
Because life in China, especially as a foreigner and especially as a person of color, it just every day is an experience. I would
Yeah.
say that it's sometimes it becomes a little mundane of like day-to-day life. Like I go to work, I come home, and I see my friends on the weekends, but most days there's something unexpected that comes up.
Yeah.
So if it's something small like a kid pointing to you and saying like, "Hey, Haida," like so black, like
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's unexpected. Or if it's you need this particular stamp on this particular paper, but you can't get it unless you go to this office 2 hours away. And then you get there and then they're like, but you need another stamp from the other place first. And you're like,
Or
the
it's
stamp,
closed today. You got to come
or,
tomorrow.
or someone's taking a nap, so it's closed. And you're just like, why? So I would say unexpected. There's always something unexpected that happens, but not always negative. Sometimes they're really good unexpected things, like, oh, hey, can you teach my kid English and I'll, pay you a lot of money for it. And you're like, sure, that's great. Now I just have
Yeah.
this side job. I was traveling one time where was I? Was it in Mongolia at the mall? And this woman walked up to me and she was like, hello, my son would like to learn English. How much do you charge? I was like, okay, well, I don't
That
actually live
is
here.
the best thing about being a foreigner in China is that
Yeah.
people, if especially if they have that feeling that you come from like America or the UK, like
Yeah.
they will walk up to you and be like, "Hey, can you teach me English?" Like that's happened to me,
Right.
man. And
Yeah.
I'll be like, "Yeah, I can." Here
I
are my
can.
prices though. Here are my prices. Like, uh, this is like a month ago. Like out of nowhere, this woman asked me on WeChat because we're in like a group together because a group that I was like promoting the podcast on, and
Hmm.
she she added me and she started talking. She was like, can you get me a job?" And I was like, "I'm not a job recruiter. I'm not a job recruiter. I can't get you a job. I'm looking for a job actually."
Right.
Like, okay, and then so she got off that and she was like, "Well, can you teach me English?" And I'm going, I go, "Yeah, I can teach you English." She
Yeah.
says, "Well, she's like, well, I can only pay this much." I'm like, "Nah, I'm sorry, dude. Like, my prices are this right here." Nah. uh,
Like,
I don't accept anything under like 300 RMB an hour. Like,
no.
I'm very
Yeah.
adamant about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Private classes, because
Yeah.
because you might take one of my classes and then not take my class ever again. Like I need to be paid for my
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Because that's happened to me quite a lot.
Yep. Someone's like, "Oh, I want to take classes with you," and then they don't show up. That happened to me one time. Like, you still have to pay for this, right? I'm like, what? But I didn't show up, and I'm like, but I did half the work, so you still have to pay half because I prepped for this. So, yeah, you still got paid.
No, see, you're nicer than me. There's no half. You have to pay me the whole thing. Because I would have said, I sat here the entire time we're supposed to be in class.
Right.
From start to finish. I just sat here waiting for you. Yeah. Yeah, but I would agree. Life in China as a foreigner can definitely be unexpected. For all the reasons you just said.
Yeah, sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good. And like a new dumpling shop popped up right next to my house.
Right next door. Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. This is unexpected, and I love it. So I would say life it's just unexpected. Every day is an adventure.
That's very much true. So I know you just said a bunch of good things, but and some bad things. But I want to ask you: do you have what would like people call like a worst memory or worst experience here in China?
A worst experience,
or just traveling around? I don't know.
I think one of my worst experiences was I was at work and I had like a new hairstyle. So if you know me, I love to have different hairstyles. I'm not trying to wear my hair in a bun every day, And so one thing that I really love about my hair is that it's very versatile. I can make it straight, super curly, a little bit curly, have it up or down or whatever. So I went to work with a new hairstyle one day, and my coworker, who was Chinese, pulled my hair out because she grabbed it. And
oh shit!
I was so angry because she would always touch my hair, and I would always tell her, "Please don't touch my hair." Until this time when she pulled it out, and I was like, "Why? You've touched it so many times beforehand, so why did you pull it out? Like, did you want to keep like some strands of curly hair? Do you want to see if it maintains its curliness after it's detached from my head?" Like, I was so mad that I couldn't say anything to her because I would have exploded. And I was in the office and there was a student in there. So I
wait. Is this at the same company we work for?
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out who. I gotta get that detail off the record. I want to know who. I want to know who. Yeah, I've had that experience though. Like this is before I had like longer hair now, but like even when I had like really short hair and I would cut my hair every 2 weeks and stuff like that, like people would want to go, "Oh man, your hair is so this, so that." I'm like, dude, like first off, I totally get it, man. Like, even though like we would work at a company that has like Chinese people and a good mix of foreigners and Chinese people there, like a lot of the Chinese staff, like usually, if they didn't go abroad, that means that they went to school in China, they spent all their time in China, and they probably didn't have any foreigners to interact with besides that job that they got that hires foreigners as well. And to be quite honest, not every job hires a nice amount of Black people that works there. So usually if they are hiring foreigners, they usually are white foreigners. And stuff like that. So when a Black person does come in, they get so enamored because like they've only seen like LeBron James, Barack Obama, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, like and they see them on TV. It's not like, they got a chance to actually meet one. So like, like my point is like, I get all of that. And so I get that they're like, I really want to know if their hair is really curly. I really want to know if their skin is like, really black and like it doesn't actually remove because like that's just their skin. So like, you get that and it happens like once or twice and you're going, all right, man, that's really cute. All right, now that you got it out of your system, let's be friends. Like, but then it happens to you again because of a new person who's never met a black person, and you're going, oh God, this is gonna happen every time to me. Every time
Right.
I meet a new Chinese person. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, the reason why I was like, of course, if it had been just anybody, of course I would have been upset. But the reason I was so upset with her is because by this point we had already worked together for 2 years.
Okay.
So I'm not like a new person that you've never like you've seen
Oh.
black people before. We've worked together for many years. We've had black staff here. Like there's at least 2 other people, 3 other people. Like it's not something new to you. And every time I keep telling you, don't touch my hair, and you do it anyway. And this time you pull it out. So that's why I was just extra angry because it wasn't anything new for her. And I knew that I didn't have the language skills to communicate the anger that I wanted. So I wrote a message in English that was it was civil, but a little bit passive aggressive, and very firm of like,
Yeah.
from this point on, nobody touched my hair. Like, and I was going to send it to like the whole center, all of the staff. And I had my good friend Genevieve write it in Chinese for me. And when I read it in Chinese, I was like, this is a lot harsher than my English version, but I don't care, I'll send it. So, because she was quite angry too. And Genevieve is Chinese, and she's like, this is not okay. So she wrote a Chinese version, and I sent it to the entire center, all the staff, all of the teachers, all of the sales, and everyone. And no one said anything, and nobody touched my hair from that point on. So I think I definitely learned a good lesson of like, when it gets to that point of like, you should know better, like you really have to put your foot down, and you really have to be strong and be like, this is not okay, and let me tell you why. So I did explain why it wasn't okay instead of just being angry about it. But I never had any problems after that. And I'm pretty sure that message got around because I didn't have any problems at any of the others.
I'm not sure if that got around because this is the first time I'm hearing about this damn
Really?
message. Like, yeah.
No one.
And I was a fucking traveling teacher. I never heard about that shit.
Yeah.
No.
Well, no one at any of the other centers, at least none of the local staff, no one talked about my hair. No one did anything about, they didn't touch it, nothing. So I was like, well, all right, it did its job. I'm glad.
Okay. Well, well, do you have like an amazing experience, something that you'll never forget?
An amazing experience. Yeah, I think one of the most memorable experiences was I was traveling in Yunnan, and I went to Dali, and I went to Lijiang. And I think one of my most memorable experiences was like standing in this very small mountain village in Lijiang, and it was just so quiet. And I was staring at this snow-capped mountain, and it was really warm, but like the mountain is really high, so it still had a lot of snow on there. And in that moment, I was just like, you know what? I'm doing it. Like, I had a dream when I was in high school to go to China and to travel in China, and like, I'm doing it. And like, I felt really proud of myself in that moment. Just because there's a lot of people that have dreams that never chase them. And I was just really proud to have chased my dream and to have accomplished it, So I think during that time, I was just like, that was one of my most memorable moments. And just traveling in Yunnan period was a really memorable moment for me. I was supposed to be leading a group of 20 middle school girls through Dali and Lijiang. And my coworker was really nice, and she booked my flight a day early. So I got in to the hotel, and I was able just to have some time to myself. And I had like a full day and a half just to explore Dali by myself. And that was really, really fun. So yeah, that was a
Wait,
good.
that job you had, were you like one of those people with like who do the traveling tours with the flags and the hat and the little speaker?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, really?
Kind of. Not quite, but kind of. So yeah, I was a tour guide, definitely, but
Okay.
we organized educational trips around China, so it was all for different schools and universities, and then we take them to different places. So sometimes it was like in a city, and because we had like Beijing trips too, which was kind of weird doing it in the city you live in, but it would be, all right, everybody, follow me. I got the orange shirt on. Don't lose sight of the orange shirt. Let's go. So if, explaining things as we go, but a big part of it was more like an academic thing. So, but it was fun. Lots
Okay.
of traveling.
Okay.
Lots of
Yeah.
traveling.
And
Yeah.
um, really quickly, because I want to go too far, but I wanted to ask you. So after you left the job where we were colleagues at,
Mhm.
well, as you were leaving, because you
Mhm.
found this other job, that's not necessarily something that you'll see a foreigner do, because like
Sure.
anybody who's a foreigner in China knows that like, hey, if you want to take a tour and with a tour guide, you can
Yeah.
definitely do it, but it won't be a foreigner and stuff like
Right.
that. Even though yours was a little bit more specific with you were doing school children, but like, how did you get into that?
Honestly, I was just looking online for jobs. I was like, I want to try something new, and I came across this job, and it was with a company that I'd watched one of their documentaries when I was in high school, and it was one of the things that really like made me decide to learn Chinese. Like I always wanted to, and I was always
Hmm.
learning things here and there when I was, in middle school and early high school. But it wasn't until I saw that documentary I was like, I have to go to China. I have to learn Chinese. Like this is it. And so when I did a little more research on the company, I was like, wait a minute. This is the company that made the documentary that really made me decide to learn Chinese. This is crazy. I have to apply. And I didn't think I was qualified because the requirements were quite high. Bachelor's degree, can speak Mandarin, can speak multiple dialects, different languages in different regions in China. I'm like, who knows those? I don't who who is that person? I don't know.
Not
Has to be
even
a
not even
foreigner.
Chinese people can speak multiple dialects in China. Like they
Exactly.
can't.
These requirements are nuts. Background in education. I think it was like 3 to 4 years of a background in education. And I was like, well, I don't have that, but I have a couple of years. So I just applied to see what would happen.
Right.
And it turns out that they're like, yeah, like you're a perfect candidate. We want to hire you. So it was just really lucky that I came across that job advertisement. I think it was on what's that, China Cities?
Each China cities.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, it was on there. So and I just happened to find it, and it just happened to be a perfect job.
Okay. Cool. So, um, what is next for my good friend Hillary?
Ooh, what's next? So I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I've, I'm not really wanting to teach ESL in the US because there's a
Right.
lot more requirements and more certifications I have to get in order to do that. Um, so what I'm planning on doing is getting my health coaching certification. So I'm currently looking at programs for that. And basically, um, it's kind of like health education for anywhere from helping out at gyms to having personal clients one-on-one or workshops at different businesses. So I'm working on getting my health coach certification and starting my own business in being a health coach. And then I'm also taking Female Health Empowerment Network um, and really growing that. And I've spoken with a lawyer about getting my business license in Beijing for Female Health Empowerment Network. In the future, hopefully, I'll have 2 thriving businesses. It'll be a while before they get off the ground, but that's my plan.
Okay, cool. And if people wanted to get in touch with you, how could they?
So they can WeChat me. My WeChat ID is pinkhearts963. Or they can email me at Hillary, Azelin, at outlook.com. It's the
All right,
best way.
absolutely. And how could they find out more information about the Female Empowerment Health Network?
I think WeChat to me would be the best way. We're working on
Okay.
our website right now. So that's not quite up yet. But yeah, just WeChatting me, looking out in different groups for our advertisements for our different events. And of course, if someone wants to be added to the group, we have a general health group and a mental health group, and I can add them into those groups.
Okay. Well, good. The tradition here on my show is to give the guest the last word and then we end. So right now, I'll give you the floor and then we will end. You can say whatever you want to say.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you for having me on. Like it's been great to see you and catch up with you as a friend. And it's been great to be on the podcast. And I really am excited about your podcast. And like it's been
Thank
great
you.
to see it grow. And I've been, as much as you've been seeing my advertisements in different groups, I've been seeing your advertisements in different groups. And I've been seeing like some people talking about your podcast. I'm like, oh, Eric's really doing it. Like it's growing, and like I'm just really excited for that. So thanks for having me on, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I guess we can just end right there. So this is my really good friend Hillary, who's doing a lot of things, and I'm Eric Charles or EC, and that's the Black Book Podcast.
I'm just on a mission. I'm trying to